Chimpanzees belong to the primate genus and the family Hominidae. The family includes two species, the common chimpanzee and the bonobo, pygmy chimpanzee. Monkeys are interesting because they can show emotions similar to those of humans. Like humans, they can admire the surrounding world, feel compassion, and also exhibit aggression, hunting the weak for fun or attacking their own species. DNA research has established that humans and chimpanzees are closely related, with the split occurring approximately 6 million years ago. The divergence from other hominids happened much earlier. Genetic similarities amount to about 98.7%, which explains many physiological similarities. Chimpanzees have the same blood groups as humans, therefore, chimpanzee blood can potentially be transfused into humans. After their natural separation, the ancestors of chimpanzees continued evolving, but at a much faster rate, resulting in a greater genetic distance from the common ancestors. In 1799, German anthropologist Johann Blumenbach first provided a scientific description and named the species, the chimpanzee. Although this species had been known since ancient times, it was only later, in 1929, that Ernst Schwartz presented it as a distinct species. For a long time, researchers only studied captive individuals, so chimpanzees were not fully understood. Scientists knew their body structure well but had limited insight into their behavioral characteristics, an area of much greater interest to them. Jane Goodall made a true breakthrough in the scientific community by starting in 1960 and continuing for many years her studies of behavior and lifestyle directly in their natural habitat. She had to overcome the distrust of chimpanzees over many years until they grew accustomed to humans. As a result, she was able to obtain unique observational data, which proved to be unprecedented in a natural environment. The entire body of a chimpanzee is covered with dark brown hair, except for the fingers, face, and tail, or rump. Interestingly, young chimpanzees have white hairs on their tail, which fall out as they mature. The presence or absence of hair in this area helps determine how adult the individual is. For young chimpanzees without these hairs, all mischief is forgiven, and family members hardly expect anything from them since they do not participate in fights between groups. Adult chimpanzees are distinguished by a change in skin color, which becomes almost black, whereas previously it was pink. Sexual dimorphism is expressed through size differences. Males grow to an average height of about 155 centimeters, while females average around 125 centimeters. Their weight varies with sex from about 50 to 80 kilograms. The most noticeable features are their powerful jaws, which protrude noticeably forward, as well as their large, prominent canines. They have a small, flat nose. The facial muscles are well developed, allowing chimpanzees to use facial expressions actively during communication, including gestures. Their heads are relatively large, although filled with brain tissue only about halfway. With humans, there is no space left. The brain volume of a chimpanzee is about 30% of that of a human. The front and hind limbs are of nearly equal length. All limbs have big toes directed opposite to the other toes, allowing them to manipulate small objects effectively. Like humans, they have unique, non-repeating patterns of skin ridges on their palms. When moving, chimpanzees use only their fingers. Although smaller in size compared to humans, their musculature is much better developed, making chimpanzees stronger than humans. Pygmy chimpanzees are nearly the same size as common chimpanzees, but their appearance creates an illusion of difference. Additionally, the lips of pygmy chimpanzees are colored red. Interesting fact. Chimpanzees have a fairly large repertoire of sounds, but this does not mean they can be trained to speak human language. The fact is, they produce sounds only during exhalation. Chimpanzees are found across large expanses of the African continent, excluding the northern and southern regions. Regarding their habitat range, it is quite extensive, although recently the habitat within this range has become significantly more limited. This has been caused by many factors. Typically, these monkeys prefer to inhabit tropical forests, as they require abundant food sources. Common chimpanzees can be found not only in humid tropical areas but also within dry savannas, whereas this is not the case for bonobos, pygmy chimpanzees. Modern subspecies live in countries such as Cameroon and Congo, as well as neighboring nations. Western chimpanzees inhabit the western regions of Africa near the coast, north of where other chimpanzee populations are found. The subspecies, Velorosus, lives in Cameroon and Nigeria. Although its range overlaps with that of other chimpanzees, it covers a much smaller area. To the east of their relatives, the Schweinfurth's chimpanzees are found. Their habitat range is quite extensive, but this does not necessarily indicate a large population of the subspecies. Often, within the areas of their range, it is possible not to encounter a single individual of this subspecies. Pygmy chimpanzees, bonobos, inhabit tropical forests located between the Congo and Luama rivers, which indicates their range is relatively limited. The diet of chimpanzees includes both plant-based and animal-based foods. Their menu consists of stems and leaves, fruits of various species, bird eggs, various insects, wild honey, fish, mollusks. Some plants' root systems are also consumed by chimpanzees, but only in cases of critical food shortage. Experts believe that the main component of a chimpanzee's diet is animal food, which they consume daily. Some specialists suggest that animal prey is mainly hunted in autumn, when plant-based food sources become scarce. Chimpanzees search for food daily, following specific routes, mainly visiting more bountiful areas. They memorize these territories and plan their routes accordingly. They often hunt monkeys or colobus monkeys, carefully organizing such hunts within groups. Surrounding their prey in a group, large males climb trees to kill the animals. Besides small monkeys, they may also hunt small wild pigs, but they do not hunt adult pigs because it is extremely dangerous. Pygmy chimpanzees, bonobos, do not hunt in groups but do hunt small monkeys. Since chimpanzees are considered quite intelligent among wild animals, they use various hunting techniques with tools. For example, they take a straw and insert it into an ant nest, then lick the ants that appear on the straw. To extract the insides of mollusk shells, they use large stones, and so on. Interesting fact. Chimpanzees have learned to use tree leaves in their daily lives. They use leaves to cover their nests, roosts, to shelter from rain, as fans in the heat, and even as toilet paper. In the wild, chimpanzees rarely live up to 50 years. However, in zoos, under human supervision, these monkeys can live up to 60 years. Primates spend almost their entire lives in the treetops. They rarely come down to the ground and feel unprotected there, especially since many natural enemies await them on the ground. The main reason for chimpanzees to come to the ground is the need to replenish their body's fluids. They move across the ground using all four limbs. In captivity, they can walk upright, supported only by their hind legs. Chimpanzees build their nests on strong tree branches, using branches of various trees and leaves. They sleep in these nests. Although they can swim, they are reluctant to enter the water and do so only when absolutely necessary. Most of their day is spent feeding. The process of searching for food is calm and uneventful, as all their routes are pre-planned. Their peace can be disturbed if outsiders, whether humans, predators, or other chimpanzee groups, appear in their territory. In case of danger, chimpanzees start loud vocalizations so that all members of the group hear them. These loud calls can also scare off predators. Chimpanzees can display quite contradictory behavior. They may admire flowers or help orphaned young animals of other species, but at the same time, they may hunt their own kind or hunt other monkeys for entertainment. Possessing cognitive abilities, they are quick learners, and if they stay near humans for a long time, they eventually adopt various manners or skills. Generally, monkeys can be taught quite complex tricks. Georges-Louis Buffon, an 18th-century scientist, trained a chimpanzee to serve him and his guests at the table. There is also a famous case of another chimpanzee that worked on a ship, performing duties like managing sales and stoking the stove. Important point. Chimpanzees can be easily taught sign language because they quickly learn it and begin to communicate meaningfully using signs. Chimpanzees prefer to live in small groups consisting of about 30 individuals. Each group is led by a single alpha male who maintains order, enforces behavioral rules, and prevents conflicts. The group leader can be identified visually by his behavior, as well as by the way he increases his apparent size by puffing up his fur to look larger. Other members of the group do their best to please the alpha male. Unlike gorillas, whose leaders are typically the strongest, the leader of a chimpanzee group may be the most clever but not necessarily the strongest individual. In addition to personal influence over group members, the alpha has close associates who also intimidate others in the group, following the leader's example. Therefore, the relationships within a chimpanzee group tend to be much more complex and developed compared to those in other animal species. Scientists still debate which primates are the most intelligent, but they agree that chimpanzees are much closer to forming proto-societies. If the alpha male becomes very old or sustains a serious injury, the next most cunning male quickly takes his place. Females also have their own hierarchy. Several females receive more attention from males and get the tastiest food. Often, females choose the leader of the group and can replace him if they are dissatisfied. Notably, the dominance hierarchy among females is usually inherited, passing from mother to daughter. Living in groups significantly increases chimpanzees' chances of survival in the wild. It is easier for them to hunt and gather food, as well as to defend themselves against natural enemies. Furthermore, they acquire all necessary survival skills within the group. Studies have shown that solitary chimpanzees tend to have weaker health, slower metabolism, and poorer appetite. Male chimpanzees tend to be more aggressive than females, which generally display a more peaceful behavior. Females often share food with injured group members and may also care for orphaned infants. Females can exhibit a range of emotions similar to humans when empathizing with those in distress. When near humans, females tend to form stronger bonds and are more obedient. Chimpanzees reproduce whenever they wish, with no strict seasonal breeding cycle. When a female is ready to mate, she mates with several males from her group. After conception, she carries her offspring for about 7.5 months. Usually, only one infant is born, completely helpless, with sparse fur. During growth and development, the fur thickens and darkens. Important. Mother chimpanzees are very caring caregivers, constantly watching over their young and carrying them on their backs for the first 6 months until they learn to walk. Infants are fed with breast milk for about 3 years. After that, they spend several more years living with their mothers, who continue to support and care for them. By around age 8 to 10, chimpanzees reach sexual maturity. Many predators inhabiting the African continent hunt chimpanzees. Despite this, few predators manage to capture a chimpanzee as prey, since chimpanzees primarily live in trees. Mainly, young individuals are vulnerable to attacks, while the primary predator of adults is the leopard. Leopards are capable of climbing trees, and their agility allows them to hunt chimpanzees in the treetops. When a leopard attacks a chimpanzee, the monkeys try to resist by banding together, making loud, call for help sounds. As a result, the entire group begins to scream loudly, throwing various objects like branches or stones at the predator. Unfortunately, chimpanzees have no other weapons, but their loud shouts and the barrage of branches or stones often force the predator to retreat. More often than not, a chimpanzee's death is related to conflicts within the species. According to Jane Goodall's observations, conflicts between two groups of monkeys, formed after a division of a single group, lasted for 4 years. During this rivalry, the smaller group, which had fewer members, ceased to exist, while the larger group planned to take over the territory of the smaller one. However, they encountered resistance from the stronger group. As a result, the smaller group was left with its own interests intact. Interesting fact. Chimpanzees are notable for their use of various tools, and sometimes even create tools themselves. To gather water, they dig small holes, and they sharpen sticks to hunt more effectively. These skills are passed down from generation to generation. Scientists believe that the behavior of chimpanzees is at a level that allows us to infer aspects of the evolutionary development of humans. Here's the video. If you liked it, please give a thumbs up and subscribe. See you next time.